Hi. First of all, I would like to brag a little bit about how I am going live on my page and not on my profile. This is the first Monday in I don't know, 3, 4 potentially that I haven't. Pretty proud of myself. Second, welcome to the Untapped Entrepreneur, where we are going to talk about ways to go from what you know and what you can do to turning that into a very lucrative business. But first, I'm going to stand on a soapbox a little bit because what's funny, there's just this, I don't know. People think that they need to do something that can absolutely indefinitely scale, right? We have the vast tools at our fingertips that all can be had with a swipe of a credit card. I can't do that for 1,000 people. I can't do it at all. Just anything at all. I am super guilty of this too. I think, especially when you're starting out, especially when you're not at the revenue goal that you are going to get to eventually, stop thinking about scale. And the reason I want to talk about this is because the very best ideas just don't scale. I want to talk about Airbnb because I know, I don't want to talk about what's going on with them now because they're all up in the news, not for the right reasons. Not all press is good press. But they were a fledgling startup. Hi Charlotte. People came in, at the very beginning of Airbnb. They were all living in this disgusting little apartment themselves, and they did not know how to scale. They were competing against Craigslist, and they did not know how to stand out. So they did something that on its surface does not scale. They hired professional photographers and stagers to take great pictures of the places they were renting out. Now, all of a sudden, they were not even close to competing against Craigslist because Craigslist is ugly. Now they had this beautiful design forward approach where, like I said, it just doesn't sound like it can scale because right now, what are there? Millions upon millions of Airbnb listings. So if you thought about how that doesn't scale, then they would have never ever gotten off the ground. I see okay, fine. We're not all Airbnb, right? I've seen this in other situations. I have a friend who's just getting started as a coach, and she keeps changing her business model. Like every other week, she keeps changing her business model. She had one morning where she had 4 coaching calls before noon, and she realized, oh my gosh, this can't possibly scale. Because she did that predictive math that works unless you take the human factor, right? She did that math and she thought, oh my gosh, if I keep going like this, I'm going to get 40 calls in a week, and I can't handle that. Now, of course, she had 4 coaching calls before noon one day. To extrapolate that out to 40 coaching calls in a week takes a long time. But she stopped right as she was starting to build momentum there. So then nobody thought of her as a coach anymore. In fact, they didn't know what to think of her as, and her income hit the wall and precipitously dropped. So that I just really want to make sure that you lean toward things that don't scale. Think about your business as a one-to-one model, because the internet has kind of broken us from that. This one-to-one model means that everything you do is personal, not distant. Warm, not cold. Caring, not apathetic. Invested, not uninterested. And necessarily has a limit because you can't scale the one-to-one model. You just can't. And that's okay, because what you want to do is be the right person providing the right service for one, and then you can figure out how to pull back and change that into a one-to-many model. So think about this when you're writing a sales page, certainly when you're writing your emails. What would you write if you were writing to one perfect client? Then you stop thinking about what everybody else is going to say, how they're going to respond, whatever you want to do that'll stop you from otherwise. But make sure that when you're in the idea phase, you do not discount ideas that don't scale. I'll be back on Wednesday at 8:45. Have a really wonderful Monday, everyone. Talk to you soon.